Hello and welcome to the OpenDS channel. Today we show a video tutorial. The presenter is Carlos Fernandez de Tejada, and he is going how he modeled a driving circuit for a Malaysian driving school and is going to import this to OpenDS. So he has never been at this place. He is going to do it from scratch by just satellite images and blueprints he received from the driving school.
Good afternoon, everyone. As mentioned, I'm going to show how I've done this modeling. First of all, I base all my knowledge on a few image satellites, in which we can see a rough outline of the driving school. It's not really clear, but we can see that there are some buildings, some cars, some parking areas, some specific roads that have to be created. And there's also like a small slope that we have to implement in CityEngine. So another image that we can actually see is from a top view down. It's basically the same one, but maybe it's more clear if you want to see a little bit more details. I'm going to show how I have used this image and some blueprints as my core ideas to create the model. So I'm going to CityEngine now, and here you can see the blueprint that I obtained from the Malaysia project. And here it's quite easy, quite clear to see different areas. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see in which there have to be streets and some areas in which are for open space like grass or buildings. I'm going to start just showing by how to build small streets. It's a little idea how to do these things and modify them. So for example, I'm going to use this first tool that creates straight line streets. So for example, if I want to create a street that does something like this, here we have a street that is doing a right angle, and we want to modify it so we can actually create the desired shape. So here on the right we have different parameters, and there are two main sections because I have selected the whole two straight lines and the corner. We have the intersection parameter that would represent the corner and the street parameters. The street parameters would actually tell you how big the street is, if there is any offset from the center of the street, how big the sidewalks are, and the precision of the roads. So for example, if I take, let's say, this street and I want to increase the size of the street, so you can see the street is much bigger now. It's 46 meters, and the sidewalk, for example, the right sidewalk, it's right now 3 meters, but I can increase it to almost any size. Everything is done automatically. You can also type the numbers if you want to. Type there. So you can obtain any size that you want. For example, in this case, I'm also going to show you what if you don't want to actually create a straight line. What if you want to modify it and have it more curved? So for this, for the straight lines, there is a really nice tool, which is the Edit Curves and Edit Streets tool, which you can see that if you click, you have these two bright yellow parts and these green arrows and green square. This basically also duplicate the tools from the street parameters. For example, this one will increase both the size of the street and the sidewalks proportionally, and the green arrow would actually change the angle in which the street actually goes to. For example, here we can actually create a nice S-shaped structure, no problem, and it looks really nice. Here I have to mention about precision, because we have a 0.5 precision, the street is going to look really nice. But if we decrease that precision, you can see that the street actually is getting with straighter angles. So, I mean, if you leave it as default, you're going to have really smooth streets normally. Now, okay, we have this really nice shape, but we have this intersection point and this other street, and we want, even though they are different shapes, we can just check, and it's like let's leave them at a more reasonable size, like 10, the size of the street, and the sidewalk, let's make it 3 on its side. And this one we want, this other street, we also want to make it the same size. And we want the curve that connects both streets to be not so sharp. So we can actually use the same tool as before and change the angle. So as you can see, now the curve is much more smooth than before. And that's how you actually just create streets. Okay, this is for the lateral adjustment of the streets. Now, in case you want to increase the inclination, the height, there is another option. With these edit curves, if you change the angle in which you're looking at the street, for example, just look at the green arrow, now it changed shape. See? Now it's a horizontal line, horizontal, yeah, line, and now you have more of a vertical image. So in this case, now it's only going to change vertically. As you can see, I am increasing it, and the vertical orientation, the vertical height is changed for this curve, which you can make really interesting shapes with this. So this is basically everything for a small introduction for how to create in streets. There are other tools, but you can explore them in CityEngine. Now that I have explained a little bit about this, I'm going to erase these streets that I just created and show you what I have implemented. So I based my ideas on this blueprint, and I have implemented a set of actually 2 sets of roads in which the vehicles can move. I will show you. The main street roads would be something like this, where you can see the overall circuit. In this case, it's easy to realize that the streets only cover the outside areas. There are some inside parts, like these 2 roundabouts in the middle, well, not exactly in the middle, a little bit below the image, in which they have roads there but are not covered. That's where I call in my second set of streets, which I will show you now. And here you can see all the streets that I have created with a closer look. There are some shapes that have been already created, and here you can see also some textures applied. I'm going to disable the textures so you can see on the shapes, and you can see how it would look in a normal situation, which is like this. After applying creating all the streets with the size, the different angles that you want to create, so it's not really straight or really smooth, I have also applied the height for this part here, for this part of the street. After creating all these streets, basically I apply textures. I haven't mentioned yet how to create textures. Well, not to create, how to apply textures to the model, but it's really simple. You basically, there are 2 options. Either you have your texture and you apply directly to the object, or you have a rule that will create the textures for you, will generate them. So, so far now, all these textures applied here are, most of them, being generated by, okay, I'm going to disable the shapes, by a rule text file, by a rule file, which is the international model file, which you can find in the CityEngine library. And when you apply, sorry, wrong button. when you apply the texture, you will obtain something like this. I'm going to remove the terrain layer so you can see more clearly. And here you can see that this rule, let me just select this part. It's a rule that's create international city. I name it test because I did some modifications, but they are not shown in these images, so it's the same one as the original one. And you have lines that make a division between one direction or the another. You also have arrows that will tell you the direction the car can go. You have different many options. For example, I'm just in this small part, I'm just going to show you here in the international. Here you have the street modern standard that are the rules used for this, and you have different options, like for example you want the center line to be yellow, so it changes. We want it white in our case. You want there to be some information, some texture on the crosswalk at the end of the street, so you have different options. For example, continental, and you have a crosswalk for people, and it's the continental style, as you can see. Or you want it to be ladder, or in our case we don't want any, so we just disable it. You can add lines to the different parts. Okay, no, this one is disabled. You have the option to have left or right traffic. In our case, because Malaysia is a country with left-hand traffic, we have by default that one decided. But if we change it, as you can see, the order will change. And here, this bar is the most important one, which actually will tell you how many lanes. Well, actually, it says here how number of right lanes you have. Because if you have the size and the number of right lanes, you know how many left lanes you have. So if you increase this, actually, you pass from having one lane to two in this case, as you can see. So let's go back to the previous one. Okay, this rule created all the textures, all these options, which are not trivial. It takes a while to create them by yourself. So you have them available in the different projects. Now, I have created the streets. I want to create the inside of the streets, well, not the inside, but the shapes that go around the streets. For this, I have different shapes that I'm going to show you now. Not all of them have been created yet, just some that are automatically created. And here you can see that just by little effort, you can add some textures, some nice looking shapes, and the model will change drastically. So if we include the other shapes that I created, we'll have an outer area, open area, concrete all around the place, some parking areas as well here on the right that I created them. But I still have some missing parts, like the buildings. The buildings, before I show you the buildings, I have to mention that in CityEngine it's extremely simple to create buildings. I'm just going to go here on the right so I can show you how to create a building. It's really basic. You just need to create either polygonal shape creation or rectangular shape. I choose this one because it's faster. It creates a rectangle directly. The other you have to go point by point. So here, for example, we just create a small area, and you have the option to just increase the height, no problem. But this is just a square, a rectangle. It doesn't do anything. So let's try to create a roof. So we go here, which this cross indicates the middle, to the middle of the other side, and we select this, and here we have a nice looking roof. Now let's create, for example, small balcony or something. So this is using the polygonal shape creator. We have this line here. Let's create this other line here. Normally, when you have parallel lines, it will automatically align. And when you have selected this, that you have this yellow circle sphere, you can actually move it out, or if you want, you can move it inside the shape. So here you can see that this allows to create really complex structures really easily. Now, in this way, I'm going also to explain how you actually add textures to the models. So, for example, let's just select this side of the roof. I mean, it's white, it's really plain, it doesn't have anything at all. So I'm going to go to some images that I have created, and I'm going to use this small tower roof 3 texture that I have modified and created, and I apply. Basically, you just have to click, drag, and drop. This small window will appear, in which you can see the image file that you are applying. You can see the orientation, if it's global or local. The rotation, if you want to apply any rotation. For example, let's apply 90 degrees. Then the rotation changes, but we don't want to apply any so far. But it's way too big, the texture. So for that, we have different options. We either keep the current mapping, stretch to polygon, or dimension. Dimension is when you have, for example, grass texture and you just want it to be repeated all over and over. In our case, we want to stretch to polygon. So let's say, how many horizontal times are we going to repeat this texture? Let's say, for example, 3 times. So now it's much thinner. It looks more like tiles on the roof, but the vertical is not still good. So let's increase to 3 as well. So now we have a more roof-like texture. Maybe we should increase the horizontal repetitions to, let's say, 5. So here you can see that actually texture looks quite nice. Well, the real shape, and this model quite easily can be from just a few polygons and a few textures, it can look like a real house. But of course, you have to apply a texture for each face. There's the option that if you select the whole object and you click assign the shape, you will apply the texture to the whole shape. Well, this is basically how you create a model. You have tutorials online in which all the tools and all the different possibilities are explained in much more detail, and how to apply textures. I'm going to delete it because it's just an example. And the next, I'm going to show you the different models that I have created. I'm going to go for an bigger aerial view, and I'm going to let you see. In this case, I have applied some parking areas, a big building, another big building but much more simpler, and a few smaller buildings inside the model. So you can see there's like this small tower-like structure. All of this has been created with CityEngine. So you can see you can actually create really complex structures that are not trivial. So this one has some arcs, and you have this other building. It's a strange building that it's not simple to create, but it's doable with this tool. I have created also some other small structures, and the most complex structure of all is this big building, which you can see it has a lot of small details like arcs, and the shape of the roof is not trivial either, and the middle floor, it's not square house, it's a little bit bigger and different size. So my own experience has told me that you can create this, for example, this big structure from just one single block. But when you apply textures, and when you then export it to Blender to be able to export it to OpenDS, there might some errors that make the building look strange. Some texturing errors. So for that, I would advise that you use simple structures, simple objects, and modify them, and then put all of them together. Actually, this building consists of quite a few different shapes. Okay, this is how the buildings look like. It's quite simple. And the next part I want to show is, okay, maybe it's one of the most important parts, is we have these nice looking objects here that you can see. It's not square, it's not rectangle, and it has a nice nice shape. These straight curves are not trivially done. For this, we actually implemented a rule that could create this structure. And for this, because it's a little bit more complex to explain, I have created a small file so you can see. Let me explain it to you. The idea of the straight curve is that we want a shape similar to what you can see on the screen. That means that you have an inner part that has grass and an outer part that's the border. In this case, we want the bricks to be yellow and black, and it's they are evenly repeated until the end of the side. So to do this, we have done the following rule. First of all, we have created a normal shape like I did before in the building that I showed you before, and we have divided it into two parts. The inside part, as you can see on this second sentence of the rule, and the border side, which is the outside. The inside we only extruded, which means you have to take into account that the original shape it doesn't have any height, it's just a plane. So extruding means what I did at the beginning when I created the building, just increasing the height. And in this case, we have increased it at size of 1, but you can increase it at any size, and then apply that color. For this example, color green, it's an attribute, but you can add basically an hexadecimal number there, so you can get the color. That's for the inside. Now for the outside part, for the border, we also extruded size of 1 because that's what we need for our specific model. But in case there are some other specifications, let's assume that you need a border, but the inside of the structure has to be lower. You just have to change the extrude from the inside part to, let's say, 0.5 and the outside to 1, and you will have the inside half a meter lower. So this is quite useful for different applications. So we extrude the border, and the border we just apply evenly. This star here means that you apply until the end this kind of structure, and we apply on the x-axis a certain size that it's an attribute. In my case, I originally set it to 2, but you can put whichever value you want, to yellow bricks and black bricks. That's the basic idea. The color scheme that I have chosen, it's not with the final color, so you can see more or less the process. Next step, it's after making these divisions on the bricks, we want to start creating the slope of the street curves. So for that, I have changed the color of kept the green color intact the same, but changed the color of the bricks. For that, I have first divided the bricks into smaller bricks that are 0.3 relative to their size and 0.7 relative to their size. In total, if you see, they sum up to 1, so there are no gaps in between for the yellow bricks and the black bricks. Yeah, for the 0.3 part, that's the part you can see in red, that I just wanted to put that color so it's easy to make a distinction. Now, the white area, which you can see it's not actually a brick, it's only like the top part. I have actually put it in bold colors, is that of that shape, we are only going to take the top part of the shape, which means that the left, right, sides, and bottom parts are not going to be generated, which means also that those vertices are not being used and they don't exist. Now that we have the top part, we want to modify it in a way that we can obtain the slope. How do we do that? As follows. Here, maybe this image is a little bit hard to see at first, but it's divided into two. The first half shows the previous image, and the white part has been tilted. How have we done that? We have applied this roof shed with a 45-degree angle to create our slope for the street curve. And after applying the other two rules, translate and the rule go to rule yellow or black, that basically means the color that they have to use, we get the image that's just right below it, which is the green grass, the yellow brick, the black brick, and so on. This looks nice, but our real objective is to have it looking more realistic. For that, we have actually applied textures to the objects. So we're going to show you a screenshot of this same model, but with textures on. As you can see, the difference is quite big. We can have a nice grass texture that looks much more realistic than that green color that we had before. And the black bricks have some marks that are not perfect. The yellow bricks have also some dirt on them. All of this has been accomplished by adding textures. And it looks quite nice, actually. So this is basically a presentation on how the rule is done. There are also tutorials on basic rule creation, but my advice is use the help from CityEngine. There you have all the information that you need for anything. Just skim through it, and if there are any instructions that I just showed that you don't know about, just go to help and you will have examples there where you can actually check all the different possibilities. Okay, now let's go back to CityEngine. Now that I have showed you the blueprint, how to create streets, how to create models, and how I have created these different parts. Like, for example, here you can see that I have applied some concrete texture. There are still some, for example, you can see here that there are some areas that don't have any texture applied. That's because I have this other layer here in which I created my own specific texture for that part. It's like a parking slot. That's how in the Malay driving school has to look like. Another thing that here you cannot really see well is that, well, actually you can see well, there are these arrows, that go to the left, but maybe these arrows sometimes are not the ones that you need. I'm going to show you it's not really clear, but in the original image, you can observe that there are many different arrows. So like, for example, here you have double direction, or you have only to the left. CityEngine, the rules that CityEngine has so far, at least as of now, they don't allow you to have specific arrows in a certain lane. So there are two ways actually to obtain that. One would be to modify the rules set and apply it however you want. Of course, you have to take into account many considerations. The easy way and faster way would be, of course, if you don't have a really big model and it's something small like this one, would be just applying a plane, and on top of the plane applying the texture that you want. So, for example, in this case, I'm just going to show you. Here you can see that we have these textures that I have applied, and they are, let me move a little bit, so you see the original ones, and they are different from the originals. And this has achieved just by placing a plane and applying the texture. There are a few things I want to mention is that you can see that the texture actually it's different than the concrete, I mean than the asphalt. But that's because when you apply a rule, CityEngine doesn't apply the same values to the rule for the textures in the rule as they apply for a texture that you place manually. Why that happened, I don't know for sure, but I can tell you that when you export the models, the asphalt of the streets and the asphalt of the signs are going to look exactly the same. In any case, you can also modify how this looks in OpenDS manually. Just going to the configuration file. Okay, so far, this is basically everything for CityEngine, and I hope it was easy to see. Oh well, there's something I forgot to mention, is that there is also some obstacles that were necessary to create, and I used the same way, I think the same ideas as before. Just a small square obstacle with a concrete texture on it, and some bumps here. As you can see, they're small, but it's simple. You just create the shape and put it there. So overall, you have the whole area. As you can see, it's not too complex to create, but it takes time, especially about placing the streets and making sure that there are no conflicts, because that can be actually something, especially when you have strange shapes that can have problems. But when you have managed that, then you create the buildings, the shapes, and just apply the textures. And that's for the part on CityEngine. The next part would be exporting the models to Blender, and from Blender to OpenDS. So the only thing you have to do when you have all of this done, you just have to select all the objects that you want to, that you have to export. For example, let's select all of these, and you just go to File, Export Models, select Wavefront Object, click Next. Be sure where the output path is, because that's where you're going to use for importing the objects in Blender, and there's no need to modify anything else. Just click Finish, and the export will be done. Okay, the next part would be explaining about how the import into Blender is done. Okay, let's close all of this. So for Blender, an important detail that you need to know is that the Blender version that we know that works 100% for sure is the Blender 2.49. That one gives no errors at all. Other versions, even though they can do the export perfectly, sometimes there are issues. So for Blender, you have you open Blender, and you have to go to you have to go to Import, File, Import. Then you have to choose wavefront.opg, and here you have to put the path that you use. We type the path, click Enter, and then we have all the export created here. In our case, it's called street sign, and it's /o.opg. So we select this file, which you can see it's selected here on the top, and import a wavefront object. Okay, for the import, we do not have to modify any of these values. We just keep them as they are. The import takes a while, but it shouldn't be too much time. Okay, Now we have the import, but there's this annoying box that was already here when we first opened the Blender program. Now I have selected the box and I delete it. See, there you can see this is our model, and that's the one that we want to import. So you can see here, that's our model in 3D. But it doesn't have any applied texture here or anything. So for this, we have to go to export. You don't really have to do anything else. I mean, in Blender, you only have to export. You don't have to do anything. And go to here. Actually, you have to export as a mesh and as a scene. So for meshes, you have to choose a path that, in our case, let's just call it C. No, actually have a path already selected. In here, Malay Driving School, I already created a path. Okay, this is the file already exported, and I'll just copy this. So I just paste the path, and here it's the tricky part. I have created a small text file for everyone to see what options should be the most important. So here we have these 4 options, and those are the ones that we need. So for our case, we need color ambient, copy textures, game engine materials, and everything is already selected. So this is what we need. With this, everything can be exported with no problem. So here you can see the object that you have actually selected, and just click export. Depending on the size of the model, the export will take more time. As this is, as far as I remember, 15 mega, this will take a while. Not too much time, but some time. So you can see that there are some warning error in normalized phase of mesh, but there shouldn't be any problem. Everything has been generated just fine. Okay, now this is done. So the next thing we have to do is we have to go also to export again and export over scene. For this, in theory, you only need to select street sign. I mean, the model that you said that you want, street signs. But in case there is some error, just click all. But with only selecting the model should be enough. So we're going to select the same path as before, which was already typed there, so it's fine. And this is the name of the scene. You have to add .scene, because if not, the file will have no extension. And you click here. You don't have to change anything. Just keep the fixed axis to Y and everything else the same. So you click export, and this is quite fast actually. See, it says already scene exported. As we already have exported the meshes, there should be no problem with that. Okay. Now that we have all the models exported, we can close Blender. And the next thing we have to do is that for our project, our driving task, we need, first of all, in our assets, the scenes, and the folder where we have the model, we have to copy all the files, both the scene and the models. In this case, you can see here that everything has been copied. That's for the scene and the model. Now, you also have to do some modifications. You have to go to the driving task, projects, what is it, MDS task. In our case, is our Malaysia driving school task. And here we have a set of different XML files. The most important file of these, I would say, is, oops, what is it? This one, the scene. Here we have all the models. So the important thing here is that you have to create a model. In this case, is this part here, in which you have the path to the scene file and the different attributes that this model will have. In our case, these are the values that we have for the model. We have the scaling, the rotation, and the translation of the model. Yeah, basically that's what you need to actually run it. If you want to add some other things, like street signs, I will explain in a short while how you can do that. So the other thing that I have to mention is that after you have created the model for the test, in this case .scene, you want to add some street signs. For this, we have in the setting.xml file, we have these 4 lines that actually are the ones in charge of the file that will contain the signs that you want to add to the scene. Right now, if you want to enable this, you need to change this to true. Now it's false, and I will show you how it looks like. And you need a file where this information is. So let's see first how this looks like. Okay, here we can see basically the model, and we're going just to drive around it, and we're going to just to show you a little bit, okay, how it looks like when you drive in OpenDS. As you can see here, the model is basically the same as you can obtain from CityEngine, and there are no basic changes. The changes will be on the next round that I will show you, in which you can add the street signs. So now that you have seen this, I will change this setting here to true and save the file. And I will also show you what the file trafficobjects.txt actually contains. Where is the folder? Sorry, I actually had it open already. So the file trafficobjects.txt contains these 5 lines. This means the name of the object, where the object is, and translation, rotation, and scaling, but basically that's it. And as you can see, all of these paths can be found from the OpenDS project. So actually, if you go to OpenDS assets models, you will find, okay, in this case, we have a custom one made, which is the Malaysian, but you will find some others that you can use in your own projects. So I'm going to start it again, and you're going to see we're going to show a specific route of the model. We're going to place a few signs, and we're also going to show the model, the weather conditions that were specifically applied to this project. So in this case, you can see that we already have a sign hanging on space. So that's the way we're going to place them on our model. We have different tools to, for example, change the signs. As you can see, there are a few different signs. We're going to use, for example, this dangerous curve, and how you actually set it, it's really simple. you just go to where you think is the best place to put it, then apply some rotation to the sign. In our case, let's no other way around. So we just apply this, and we just set it up with a small key press, and there it is. It's really simple to do it. It's quite intuitive, as you can see, because you only have to drive through the model. And now we're going to go up the slope to see if it's smooth enough. And after this, we're going to add another sign on the left. In this case, we're going to use a stop sign. This stop. And if you want to change the orientation, you just have to click a few different keys, and you can change the orientation of the sign. Now for the next this part, I'm going to explain the different weather conditions that have been applied to this model. So, for example, in the case of snow, as you can see, some snow has been applied, and if you keep on, you can keep on adding more snow, so there is more intensity to it, and you can reduce it as well. As you can see, snow is now gone, and you can also add rain as an effect, and the same as before, you can reduce it. There is no problem. And the last effect that we have is adding fog, which is, as you can see, the image gets a little bit harder to see because of the fog, and we can take it out as well. Now we're going to add the last sign, which is let's just keep for it to be a stop sign. So now that we have added, we're going to add a different sign as well of roundabout, and basically this finishes the show of the tour that I just showed you around of the model. Now I'm going to show you how you can use these signs in your model. The problem is that, let's first finish this, is that the models are not automatically added to the scene.xml where you keep all the models. So you have to actually go to Analyzer Data. Here you have to go to the last folder, 17. So you go here, you have to go to this driving task log. I just copy it here, and you will have 4 models here. These models are the ones that you have to copy to the scene.xml file. So we just copy them, go to the scene model, and let's just copy them here. So let's just make this. Okay, we have to remember that the last sign that we actually put was the stop sign. As you can see here, you have the names, and you have also the route, the path to the model, and all the different parameters. Because we don't want this, which are quite a few, as you can see. So because we don't want this sign, we are going to erase it from the model. So we just come here and delete it. We save the file, and you can see that here we have these 3 signs. But I also want to show you that there are a few signs, well, maybe more than a few signs, that we have used for the model. And these are just commented so they don't show in the model so far. There are quite a few. I'm going to just uncomment these models so you can actually see how it would look like if you, the model with all the signs. And I'm also going to uncomment these other ones and this one here. Okay, now I will run again the OpenDS simulator, and you will see that we have both the signs that we have applied in the last run that we went through, and all the signs that we have applied originally to the model. Okay, here you can see that there are some additional signs that we didn't place before. Like, for example, we have 2 danger scores on the left, a lot of stop signs. There are also some parking signs that says P6, P5, P4, P1. You also have some traffic lights, if you can see them there on the left. And they have been placed the same way as I just showed you. The traffic lights are just right now are only like a sign. They are not working. It's just placed there, the model. And basically that's it. There is nothing more to mention about this. You can see that all the signs can be placed there, no problem. And we can erase the models that we don't want. For example, these 3 in our case. Well, this is mostly it. There's one thing you have to remember, that in this last run also we had the signs on the right, which looks quite annoying. To disable that, remember to change these to false, and they won't show again. Maybe you're wondering where we have to keep this file, but we have to keep this file where the XML files are. I just showed you, but it's here, projects, and here we have the file and all the other XML files. And besides that, basically that's everything. And thank you very much for listening, and hope you enjoy it.